Hi everyone, welcome to the Secrets of Professional Gamblers tutorial series. This series is designed for beginners who want to learn about profitable gambling, or for the casual gambler who realises that he or she is losing way too much and wants to start profiting for the long term. I hope even the experienced gambler finds something useful here. You probably have a lot of experience, but I hope to fill in any gaps you may have in your knowledge. Okay, so a few words of introduction. I'm a professional engineer, and while at university, I was looking for a way to make a few extra dollars that wouldn't interrupt my studies. I had a TAB near my place, which is basically a government-approved agent for horse, greyhound and harness racing, and I decided to check it out. I knew nothing about betting at first, so I put a lot of research into it and ended up knowing quite a lot about the subject. I soon realised to be good at this activity, I would have to go about it professionally. For a start, I wouldn't be betting at the TAB because of the totalisator system they use. I also wouldn't bet at a casino because of the automatic loss built into every game. In fact, the only betting I found that could be exploited for profit was sports betting, including horse racing, as long as I had access to fixed odds. I found that investing in sports markets shared a lot with traditional investing, which not only allowed me to bet profitably, but also led me to create a number of other unique betting products, which you can now find on eBay. Just search for me, Matt's Games, and have a look at Wildfire Pro Keno and Wildfire Pro Lotto. My latest product is Wildfire Pro Sportsbet, and I will use it throughout this series. If you're interested, you can get a copy of it in the link below in the comments. I like to put a disclaimer ahead of all my videos because I'm not encouraging people to waste their money on cheap thrills. I believe the main rules of gambling professionally are these. Don't risk more money than you can afford to lose, set a limit and stick to it. If you're going to gamble long term and professionally, set aside a bankroll for betting purposes and don't use it for anything else and manage it carefully. Betting is easy when all goes well, but if you find you begin to stress after a number of losses, your betting gets reckless and you stop managing your money, perhaps it's time to look for another hobby. Stop gambling, you're not suited to this activity. Let's begin by looking at the difference between a mug punter and the professional. A mug punter is the sort of gambler that is betting simply for a cheap thrill, in the hope of a big return on their money. They generally bet out of loyalty or gut feel and do not understand if their wager is good value or not. In fact, they have no idea what value means in terms of gambling. They also tend to bet to the bottom of their wallet without regard for limits or managing their betting budget. Contrary to this, the professional gambler is very concerned about value, limits and his budget. He or she only bets for a profit and will aim for a specific return every time he bets. He understands the market he's betting in very well and is happy to make small regular returns. He or she bets strictly out of a bankroll set aside for betting and will know the status of every bet and his profit and loss at the end of the day. He or she has a betting strategy for the long and short term and will be aiming for his long-term goals every time he bets. You may already be familiar with betting markets of your favourite sport, whether that's horse racing, soccer, tennis or whatever. While there's many sports and events to bet on, there's only really three different types of betting markets you'll find. There is a two-event market like tennis, where there is only one winner and loser, three-event market like soccer, that also includes the draw, and the remaining multi-competitor markets like a horse or bike race, where odds are offered on each competitor in the field. The odds or price given for a competitor is used to calculate your return should you pick the winner, but they also provide more information than you may realise at the moment. The cornerstone of a betting market is the price or odds offered for each team or competitor in an event. Its main purpose is to calculate the money return should an outcome occur, usually a win or a draw. In fact, a price can be set up for any event that may occur, for example, for the player kicking the first goal of a match. While the price is used to calculate a win's return, it also represents the implied chance, or probability, that the outcome will occur. A market using the UK fractional odds format instead of a price will represent this chance more directly. Both prices and odds can be converted directly into an implied percentage chance to win, also called the implied strike rate. This is key to many important calculations for effective and professional betting. While the price format is universal, odds formats vary around the world. It helps to know them all. Here we see a few examples of the sorts of odds formats we will see online. First example is the price format, which may or may not be displayed with a dollar sign. I prefer not to see a dollar sign as it unnecessarily clutters up the useful numbers we need to see. So here we would say that Mosley is at $1.22. It's perhaps interesting to note here that any price under $2 is said to be odds on, as it represents an implied probability of over 50%. The second example is the fractional odds format common in the UK. Anytime the first number is lower than the second number, then the odds are again said to be odds on. In this example, Hampshire Royals are odds on at 4-5. The third example is included out of interest. I won't be referring to it very often as it's not really seen outside of the US. It's also a little more difficult to interpret, but I guess if you're in the US you'll get used to it pretty quickly. There are other formats I'll show in a moment, but it's generally accepted the price format is the most universal and easiest to understand. Here we see the odds converter page from Wildfire Pro Sportsbet, which will allow us to convert an odds figure from any format there is into any other format. For the sake of betting calculations, it also provides the implied strike rate and probability, both as a number and a description. For example, 5 chances in 6. The other odds formats we haven't or won't discuss are also included. These are Asian formats used in Hong Kong, Indonesia and Malay.